Are you thinking about retiring early? In this video, I share how to calculate exactly when you can retire using this retirement calculator I built. I think this is much better than the other retirement calculators, which simply takes a number of years you predict you'll have left times your monthly expenses. My retirement calculator is based on the 4% rule, but this also considers any side income you may have after retirement, and I also added the target column, which increases with inflation too. Now let's see how my retirement simulator works. Obviously, to calculate when you can retire, you gotta determine how much you need in a month. So these are the realistic estimates for mortgage, food, transport, and so on. And yes, I don't plan on getting a car in Singapore because it's about another 8 years of working my full-time job and investing it into the stock market. And if the average lifespan is 80 plus years, that's close to 10% of my life just to get a car. I think I should be fine using car sharing services. Plus, even if I have so much excess money, imagine what other experiences and things I can do with another 2.5k a month instead of owning a car. Anyway, whatever your target transport cost is for your family or future family, put it there. By the way, this simulator also works for other currencies, not just Singapore dollars, but since I live in Singapore, these are the realistic estimates in 2024. Also, put at least 1k in everything else. That includes some buffer in case there are some emergencies that month. 1k may be too low, so put in more as you need. Remember, the larger your target, the longer it will take to reach there. So is 6k a realistic number? I know personally someone who is spending 7.5k a month total for a family of 4, including a car and helper. So I think 6k without helper and without a car is realistic in 2024. Now the total here represents family expenses, so if you are single now, you just divide this number and add a little bit of buffer. But for simplicity, I'm just gonna split the cost equally, so let's take a total of 3k away from some categories. In this cell, you put the market value of your investment portfolio only, so don't include other sources of income unless they also grow at the same rate. You can change this 12% return rate here, but since S&P 500 historical returns are already 10%, I assume if you have other stocks, you should be returning at least more than 10%, otherwise you just put those underperforming stocks back in S&P 500. So realistically and a little optimistically, I put 11 or 12% as a return rate. You can put 10% here to be more conservative. You can also change the inflation number here, but I think 3% is realistic enough and I will use 3% in all my simulations. Now this active income column is for a full-time job, and when you retire you can put any pension schemes like CPF Life or any side hustles you may be undertaking. And if your active income grows, you put the estimated growth rate here. For example, if you have a full-time job, maybe put 2 or 3% as your yearly increment. Now scenario 1, you're a fresh graduate and working a full-time corporate job, and right now fresh grads are earning 4 plus k a month. So I'll put 4.5k here in the active income column. But you now only have 20k invested through your internship allowance and savings. Since you are a fresh graduate, you might still be living with your parents and not paying rent. Your monthly expenses, let's say only $700. Now let's see when you can retire. If you decide to retire after 7 years, your max save spend column is still less than your target for 2 years. The max save spend column is a percentage of the monthly returns in column D. In this situation, you need to keep your frugal spending for 2 years after you retire to let your investments grow before you can finally hit your target, which I think is fine too if you're not in a rush to hit your target. But if you retire 1 year later, your max save spend is now above the target column. Let's check if you can sustain 3,800 from year 8 onwards. As you can see, the last save column is never negative, so this is sustainable forever. Now second scenario, you have been working for a couple of years and have maybe 400k invested already. Now you're earning a bit more than a fresh graduate, maybe 6k a month, and spending a little bit more too at 1.5k now. Remember, the less you spend now, the faster you can retire. So how soon can you retire now with the same target? If you retire next year, you see there's 1 year with white boxes, that means the max save spend is still less than the target, and you have to keep spending frugally until year 3 where your max save spend is over your target, which is represented by the green boxes below. If you retire a year later in the second year, your max save spend will now always be more than the target column. So let's say this guy is the sole breadwinner, so we'll change back the target to 6k. Now this guy can retire after 6 years. Scenario 3 is maybe you have started a family and you are spending 6k a month now. Perhaps your goal is 8k when you retire. Let's say as a couple, you have 600k invested already and 12k from both your full-time jobs. If both of you retire 5 years later, you hit your target lifestyle in year 6. but you retire in year 6, you'll hit your 8K per month goal, which is now at 9.5K in year 6. Now you put the target amount of 9552 in the spend column. You can see the save column now is always positive, it means it's sustainable forever. By the way, the market volatility is also considered in the max save spend column, as it's based on the 4% rule. Now it's up to them to play with the values and decide how fast they want to retire, either by earning more, spending less, or waiting longer for their investments to grow. My plan is kind of a mix of all these. I have around 300k invested now, and I'm comfortable spending super little, maybe a couple of hundred on top of insurance and tax. So assume I spend only $500 a month until I reach my target, which let's say is 3k a month after splitting with my future wife. If I don't have any active income, my investments will bring me there in 8 years. So that's the worst case scenario, which is not that long actually, since I don't even have a girlfriend now. So if I want to expedite the process, I shouldn't retire now and let's say earn 6k as active income for just 2 more years. That means if I retire in 2 years, I just have to live on $500 a month for the next 3 years for my max spend column to be more than my target. Another idea is to start a small business or side hustles that can earn me 1k a month passively forever. In this scenario, my max save spend is more than my target after the 2nd year already. But the ideal case is I want my side hustles to earn me 2.5k a month so that I can still qualify for HDB house loans and credit cards. Also, I want to open another source of income so I'm not too reliant on the stock market. Remember, active income does not last a lifetime. Your 5k a month from your full-time job put into the stock market is worth $16 a month or 55 cents a day using the 4% safe withdrawal rate. So I'm weighing, is it worth it to spend 1 month at a full-time job for 55 cents a day perpetually? Or finding some passive income streams that can also do 55 cents a day but not take me 1 month to do it. It could be like ebooks, sell courses, even YouTube videos, but I think that's the hardest to do. Or something like this, a digital product. So if I can get 2.5k a month sustainably, perpetually, I don't even have to worry about splitting the cost up with my future wife in just 5 years, where my max save spend is more than my target already. So that's the ideal scenario, and that's why I am trying to build other income sources instead of just relying on a job and investment returns. Now with that said, you can buy this calculator in the link below. So thanks for supporting me.